In today's show, we'll be discussing whether Twitter have been too strict on third-party developers and share some tips on how to avoid your account being frozen if you're using third-party plugins on your iOS device.
We'll also be interviewing the team behind the Pheeva Bitcoin wallet, an app set to bring Bitcoin payments to over 200 high street retailers, which now includes Starbucks.
And of course, we'll be bringing you the latest from the iOS world, including new apps and future releases.
Hello, I'm Cameron.
And I'm Luke. We're here from Free Deal Studio, keeping you up to date with the latest app news and releases.
This is App to Date. So let's break into the interesting realm of iOS medical innovation.
There's a new app to monitor eye health, by which I mean Retina Health, by which I don't mean Retina display. I actually mean human eyeballs. The practical health aspects of the iPhone and the Apple Watch have been a huge focus point of the last few months, and third-party developers are now really stepping up their game and expanding the health kit and building new apps. A couple of months ago on the podcast, we spoke about BillyCam, an app that would scan for jaundice in newborns.
But this week, a new eye exam and a smartphone system consisting of a panoptic ophthalmoscope.
That's the thing that doctors use to look inside your eyes. It's that light they scan and really annoy you with.
And an attachment to allow the iPhone to take photos and video of your eyes was used in order to take retinal photos of 28 paediatric patients with a diverse range of retinal and optic nerve conditions.
Now, the upshot of this is that they can store the images over a long-term period of time in order to monitor your eye health. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better after the capturing of it? Which is something that's only been done with specialist equipment before, whereas now you can probably take it to your GP service anywhere in the country.
But we're seeing more and more smart devices quantifying different aspects of our life, and maybe this is a new app to quantify eye health without revealing our identity, because that's also a feature of the app. Isn't that right, Luke?
Telemedical consultation is what they're calling it, that you can observe from a distance somebody's health so that you don't necessarily have to know who it is. So if it's somebody under witness protection, something like that, or for some reason really has to be hidden, you can actually have a professional eye doctor look at them without actually seeing their face, which is a very strange thing to think of, but it is a very clever thing.
The results were shared at the AAO 2014 118th annual meeting of the American Academy of Ophthalmology.
I haven't been invited to the
The 118th annual American Academy of Ophthalmology?
Maybe the 119th one I'll get an invite.
Maybe. And as of February 2015, there'll be a new rule to submitting to the App Store.
Apple have updated its software development kit guidelines, making it mandatory to be 64-bit and iOS 8 supportive before being submitted to the App Store as of February. Developers do not need to make existing apps 64-bit supportive unless they are submitting an update after February the 1st, 2015.
Apple will not be able to drop 32-bit support until iOS devices running on 32-bit processors are left out of the iOS update cycle.
So that'll probably come out at the current release rate in about 2016 or 2017.
And if Snapchat weren't making things bad enough for themselves already by accepting little to no responsibility for last week's image leak, they're now spamming us with ads.
On Friday, Snapchat will begin displaying ads for its users on the app. The company claimed that the reason they're bringing in advertising is simply to make money. And it seems funny to me that a company that's worth $10 billion aren't making enough money.
What did I say before? They're not worth 10 billion. This is a massive overvaluation. Snapgate, as we coined last week, should have been a little bit of proof of that. But I think this is really, maybe this new advertising move will create a significant revenue stream for Snapchat.
So do you not think that this will devalue the company in some way with the whole Snapgate thing, followed by this? Maybe they're going to be losing quite a lot of users as it is. And the only thing that's actually making their company worth money at the moment is the fact they have that huge collection of users.
I'll have to agree with you there, Luke, definitely. I would actually make the prediction that we're going to see a huge exodus from Snapchat. The idea of being exposed online and your secret images becoming public and whatever that people have is becoming more and more mainstream media. People are becoming more aware of online security, and Snapchat still haven't taken full responsibility for what happened.
From one secretive picture messaging service to another, Whisper app versus The Guardian newspaper this week.
Whisper, the app for sharing location-based secret thoughts anonymously, are accused of tracking users even when they opted out of the geolocation and sharing data with the US government by British newspaper The Guardian.
Whisper's editor-in-chief, Nietzsche Zimmerman, called the Guardian article a pack of vicious lies, later saying the Guardian made a mistake posting that story and they will regret it.
Zimmerman sounds like a very angry man, and he later released a point-by-point rebuttal to the Guardian's article, denying secret tracking or sharing information with any government except to comply with legal orders. However, The Guardian on Friday said it stood by its claims.
Careful analysis showed that Whisper still track approximate locations through phones' IP addresses, even if they're not using GPS or geolocation.
The newspaper also said Whisper rewrote its terms of service on storing data after learning The Guardian planned to publish its stories.
So what would you think about Whisper using your data in this way?
Well, I wouldn't be very happy. Definitely not if I've opted out of geolocation. Now, I know there's a way of getting around this, and there's a new type of geolocation that's being used through Wi-Fi connections, because Wi-Fi connections send a tiny piece of information to every single modem that you connect to, even if you don't actually log on to the internet. Just by detecting that modem, you're showing a piece of information. We're seeing more and more accurate location-based services, but we're also trading off information that we don't want to give out. And I think that's the case with Whisper. As it says, they're not using GPS or geolocation. So I'm assuming here that it may be being used through Wi-Fi connections.
And would you believe it? It's already 10 years since the release of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and to celebrate, Rockstar Games will be releasing a Grand Theft Auto trilogy to the App Store on the 26th of October, exactly a decade after the initial release of San Andreas. That includes Grand Theft Auto 3, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Awesome. I just saw that Grand Theft Auto Vice City had made it into the top 10 most downloaded apps of the App Store this week. So get your hands on that. It sounds fantastic. Everyone loves a bit of nostalgic GTA violence, as crude as that is, it's the truth. And I mean, it's interesting that many people actually assume that Rockstar is a US company, but actually they're based in Scotland. And the profits from the British video game industry actually exceeded those of the film industry, so we're not doing too bad over here. Grand Theft Auto 5 actually became the fastest selling video game of all time, when it made over 500 million in sales worldwide during the first 24 hours of its release.
The first of our Twitter stories today, Twitter unveils a new system that allows users to log in using their mobile phone number. With digits, the users type in their phone number and receive a one-time confirmation via SMS. It seems like a feature they would have released 10 years ago, if they existed then. I know they've got that text-to-tweet feature as well, and I think it's a bit
analog for you.
A bit analog for me, yeah.
Twitter have launched their new app development tools this Wednesday.
Twitter have announced a number of new tools for developers interested in building add-on applications for their services, with the intention to help developers build better programs and make more money. However, so far, the rules regarding Twitter's plugins, which work using the Twitter API, have been incredibly strict and had even caused temporary bans by reaching Twitter's imposed limits. The frustrating thing is, with a good Twitter management system, this really isn't all that hard to do. And if you're going to go to the trouble of actually using a management service, you want to use a good one, because you're usually paying for it.
Now with TweetDeck, for example, it is very easy to follow, unfollow, or tweet at too many people and reach the API limit. When this happens, Twitter will not provide any further updates to your account, and you may even be locked out from using the service until you change your Twitter password. So if you're using a Twitter management tool and want to avoid the API limit, as well as what Twitter call their technical limit, I have a few suggestions. The first is only ever run one Twitter application at one time, as the API requests from all third-party applications are tracked using the hourly API limit per account. So people who use multiple third-party applications will reach the API limit much more quickly. Also, try not to overuse the refresh button when you're in a third-party application, as this will rapidly push you closer to reaching the API limit. And if you're not using your third-party application, close it down, don't leave the apps running.
In the past, Twitter also banned the use of account management systems that enable users to bulk select particular groups for processing, forcing users to manually remove spam accounts individually. So Cameron, you had any trouble with Twitter?
I've had lots of trouble with Twitter. As you know, I've set up the iOS @news24 Twitter account. And at the beginning, I really wanted to push it. I wanted to get lots of exposure, connect with lots of people. And I quickly found that my account was being frozen by Twitter because I was reaching these API limits. And the amount of people that I was following and tweeting to, I wouldn't class as excessive. Although Twitter claimed that the limit is 1,000 follows per day, I was probably more closer to 300 a day and still being blocked. So I suppose Twitter doesn't want to be too transparent with exactly what these limits are so that people can't gamify them or create applications that work just on the edge. I mean, I use Manage Flitter, which is a fantastic application, and that does have built-in warnings, but Twitter are constantly changing their limit parameters. And there's only so much you can do to prevent yourself being blocked if you're going to be using Twitter a lot.
I think it's interesting what you're saying there about Twitter not wanting people to gamify their services, because in many ways Twitter is ultimately a big game. And they actually rely on that being so in order for them to become more popular and sustain the popularity they currently have. If people weren't so desperate to go, I need this, I need that, I need this many followers and this many retweets, then they wouldn't be as popular as they are as a microblogging platform.
So, do you think Twitter needs to be this strict to prevent spammers from hijacking the developer tools, as well as stopping the kind of PR disasters like we saw with Snapchat in the last week's episode?
Well, I think the problem is when you open up any service for third-party developers to build upon, you are opening the door for them to get inside your actual system and perhaps completely wreck it, as we've seen with Snapchat. I'm sure that Twitter are being a lot more cautious than Snapchat because they're far from a startup company at this point. Maybe they've got a thing or two to learn about that.
Snapchat don't have a public API, so the third-party apps that run with Snapchat are effectively hacking the application. And the team behind Snapchat still haven't been able to persuade Apple that these apps need to be removed from the App Store, and that's why we saw this leak, which was absolutely shocking. The fact that Twitter have a public API, which they very strictly enforce rules upon, is maybe a beneficial thing. However, when it starts interfering with genuine developers and people who just want to get the most out of the platform, it is unfortunate, but I guess there's always a trade-off with this kind of thing.
So do you think it's actually worth developing on a platform such as Twitter when a change in policy or a change of heart from the developers could just get your app banned out of nowhere? We saw it with Launcher, which was dubbed a misuse of widgets by the App Store. Do you think that could be a possibility for people developing on the Twitter platform?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, we're going to see Twitter releasing their video card soon, and there's going to be native Twitter videos. So it'll be interesting what kind of apps come out for that. Will there be apps that instantly upload videos to Twitter that have hashtags and the top tags attached and all kinds of things? Or, I mean, Twitter are fairly against automated systems using their APIs. So I suppose so. I think it'll be very interesting when these video apps come out and how that's going to apply to the new Twitter rules and how far people are going to push the APIs and whether videos will cost more API calls. So will people who upload videos to Twitter be chastised for that?
Okay, next up, Cameron will be interviewing the guys from the Pheeva Bitcoin wallet. Take it away, Cameron.
Today I'll be interviewing the team behind the Pheeva Bitcoin wallet, an app set to bring Bitcoin payments to over 200 high street retailers, which now includes Starbucks. So you can all get your morning coffee fix with Bitcoin.
I'm Lamar Wilson, and I am the CEO of Love Will, which is the creator of Pheeva. I'm also the lead developer on the Pheeva application, on all Pheeva applications.
I'm Casey Lawler. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I do business development, marketing, and sales for Love Will.
Thank you very much for agreeing to be on the show. We love what you're doing. I've got a series of questions here to ask you, and either of you can answer them. For our listeners who don't have a clue what we're talking about in regards to Pheeva or Bitcoin or anything, what is Pheeva and what are the benefits of using it?
Pheeva is the best Bitcoin application in the space. It's a hot wallet that allows people to quickly send and transact in Bitcoin. The reason why you would want to use Pheeva is because it's ease of use. The actual coin IDs that allow you to send Bitcoin to whoever you want just using their name. And also we have partnerships with Gift, which allows you to buy gift cards to over 200 stores, and that's growing. So they just added Starbucks last week, so yeah.
Oh, congratulations, that's fantastic. What was your inspiration behind the app?
When I decided to create Pheeva, it was because I noticed that there was a lack of easy to use Bitcoin wallets in the space. I actually gave my mother Bitcoin for one Christmas, And of course, she couldn't figure out how to use it. So I decided to create a wallet that made it very, very easy for anyone to use and understand. And so now my mom has Bitcoin in her Pheeva wallet.
And Lamar has kids, so that makes her grandmother, so it's so easy your grandma can use it.
That's a pretty strong tagline for something to do with Bitcoin. What's the story behind the name? Now, I've read online there's an unconfirmed rumour that has something to do with Kanye West. So can we put this to bed or confirm it? What's the story there?
Nothing to do with Kanye West. Actually took the name from another company that I had a while ago, but Pheeva really fits in with this wallet because we consider it to be a hot wallet. And Pheeva, or fever would be hot. So it's really a really cool way to say Pheeva, and hopefully it's something that sets us apart. Most Bitcoin applications have been bit this or bit that. We try to separate ourselves so people will recognize our brand a lot better. So we have Pheeva.
Having said that, that's something that stood out to me when I first found you guys on Instagram, and I was like, hey, this seems a bit different. And then I saw your commercial, and I thought, wow, this is excellent. This is exactly the kind of thing I'm seeing. People saying, oh, Bitcoin, oh, it's never gonna this, it's never gonna that, and then you can actually download an app and use it, like you say, at Starbucks. I mean, people can't argue with that. How long did the idea take to develop into a working project, and were there any major hurdles along the way?
The largest hurdle for me as a developer was getting knowledge about cryptocurrencies and about how cryptography works. So that was probably the biggest hurdle, but once I grabbed hold and understood it, I could really move forward with it. The project only took, I started thinking about doing some stuff in the cryptocurrency space. I actually started building something about last September, and then I switched the idea over because we were just I was going to just focus on those coin IDs and have like almost an ICANN system for coin IDs. But then I decided in December to just create a wallet. Like I said, my mom got Bitcoin for Christmas. And then what wound up happening is it took we launched our first wallet in February. So it probably took about 2 or 3 months to get that knocked out. And then we launched it actually at the Texas Bitcoin Conference, one of the largest Bitcoin conferences that existed at the time.
What was your experience at the Texas Bitcoin Conference like then?
Cool. It was my first time really going to a Bitcoin conference. We actually were able to speak at that conference, and then just launching. And that was the time when Apple had a ban on Bitcoin wallets, and we were the only way you could get a wallet onto your iPhone. So it was really cool because people were like, first they were confused, like, how in the heck did you do this? And then once we did it, it was like we were Merlin the Magician.
Lamar the Magician. That's I'm going to have to add that in somewhere. Now, I've also noticed you've been pretty active on Reddit, responded to some of the commentary on there regarding the app, and you've been very open to questions. How important do you think community engagement like this has been in pushing for widespread adoption of Pheeva?
Well, I really believe that the Bitcoin space is a space where you have to build trust because, Bitcoin in itself is a trustless protocol, of course, but when you're dealing with people's money, they have to know they can trust you. And we like to do it the old-fashioned way by being completely open, transparent, ask us anything, we'll tell you the truth. And we just try to, be completely out there and allow people to understand that we are in their corner and we're not trying to take the Bitcoin or anything like that. And we're trying to build a business that people can trust and believe in for the long term.
Where did you first hear about Bitcoin, if you can remember?
Well, I first heard about Bitcoin based on the volatile price. I was interested on an investment standpoint. Then I learned a little bit more about the technical aspects of Bitcoin. Saw a lot of promises in remittance and banking for the underbanked. So I joined a group of friends. We made the Bitcoin Society, which was basically education, outreach, and advocacy for Bitcoin. But as soon as we met Lamar, we pivoted and tried to support him on his project.
And I'm very thankful for that, man. These guys have been wonderful. They actually have come into Pheeva and Love Will, so it's really cool. But when I learned about Bitcoin, I was actually pitching the other company, Pheeva, and the investor that we were speaking to, because we had a virtual currency that was tied into our application, and the other investor we were speaking to, he said something about Bitcoin, and I thought he said big, as in B-I-G coin.
Yeah.
And so I left the meeting, what the heck is Bitcoin? So we started doing some research, and we found out that it was Bitcoin. And crazy of me, I didn't really do that much more research because we were like, well, they're not doing what we're doing, so
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna worry about it. Then about last year when the price spiked to about I think it was last year, it might be 2 years ago now that I think about it. Whenever the price spiked to 266 that one time, it brought my attention back to it, and I grabbed the Satoshi white paper and I went through the Satoshi white paper. I guess what do they call it when the vampires take you over? I had that, man. For like 3 or 4 days, I didn't go to sleep. I was just like reading about cryptography, and cryptocurrency. So it was pretty cool. That's when I really got into it.
What's the coolest thing you've ever purchased using Bitcoin?
Purchased?
Yeah.
I think the coolest thing that I like to do with Bitcoin is save people from the crypto locker. I mean, I tend to do that a lot because we are so prevalent. People know that we're in the Bitcoin space. When they get their computers hijacked by the crypto locker, we usually are the people that they call. So I think that's the coolest thing, to be able to free someone's computer. I don't think it's cool paying some hijackers for the service, but I think showing these people how easy it is to transact in Bitcoin, because it's crazy. It's a lot harder for them to get me the money for the Bitcoin than it is for me to pay the crypto locker guys. So I think it always educates people like Bitcoin is faster than, trying to send me a check or wire me some money over.
I downloaded the Google Chrome plugin to give that a try as well, and it's amazing. Seriously, really impressed with it. I love the way it pops up, kind of like, I've got an iZettle here. I don't know if you've heard of them. It's kind of like the Square in Europe, and it looks just like an iZettle.
All right, so I'll just put in your address, which is Cameron Norris, and I'll send you about 3 millibits, or about $1.
Okay, thanks a lot. See how quick this is.
Feel free to send it back.
I will do. We'll time how long it takes for you to send it and then for me to send it back.
Alright, and as soon as you hear like the whoosh, it'll go off. I had to get through the pin. Alright, and I should make a little cling sound right when I send it.
Okay.
Alright, right there.
Wicked.
And so I'm sending this from St. Louis, Missouri, all the way to Kent.
Yeah, that's
United
it.
Kingdom.
Kent. Oh wow, it's arrived already.
Yeah, there you go.
That was pretty much instantaneous, actually. Forget the stopwatch. It was there before I opened my Pheeva account. Oh, that's excellent. Go. Right, and I'll send this back. Have you received it?
Yeah, I already got
it. That's wicked. How fast is that? That's excellent. Fantastic.
Make sure you tune in next week, where Lamar and Casey will be telling us what's next for them in the project.
So if you want to learn more about Bitcoin, I highly recommend Bitcoin 101, the ultimate guide to Bitcoin for beginners. I downloaded the audiobook ahead of my interview with Lamar and Casey, and I'm sure glad I did. We've put up a link on our website, or you can get it for free by going to www.audibletrial.com/iOS app to date. There'll be a link in the description for this podcast. The most advanced mobile building simulation game in the world has been unveiled by Electronic Arts this week.
SimCity Builder is a new free-to-play iOS game based on the pretty popular SimCity open-end building series, where you can solve real city problems such as traffic, fires, and pollution. And lastly, the Game of Thrones update.
Game of Thrones Ascent has been updated with its first expansion this week, the Long Night Cycle. The game promises to bring you back to the north to fight White Walkers and more. With the update, you can now begin a new world event cycle with the outbreak of a terrifying plague. Well, I've been meaning to catch up on the series because I've not even started it yet and everyone's raving about it. But, while you're grabbing the Bitcoin 101 book, why don't you download Game of Thrones? I'm definitely going to check it out. I hear it's about 16 hours long, so it's a bit of an epic. Maybe the next time I'm on a coach journey to Scotland, I could do with something like this.
Big thank you for listening in today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. We are at iOS App News 24. Check out our website. We are www.freedeal.co.uk. And we will see you next week. Subscribe to the podcast.
And thank you so much to everybody who filled out our PodTrack survey. We can't believe how much feedback we got. It's absolutely excellent.
If you would like to participate in the survey, and we would love it if you would, go to our website, all the W's, 3deal.co.uk/iOS News 24. It'll only take you a few minutes and it will really, really help us improve the show, help us keep the show going. And I thought it was really funny that one of the comments we received in some of the feedback referred to me as that Kane guy. No, maybe he's just seen you walking around the streets with your cane. Oh, maybe.
That's what it is, yeah.